When I was in school, I remember studying a long list of English vocabulary the night before an exam. I usually obtain good grades because I memorized the words, but when I had the opportunity to communicate in English, I often struggled to use that vocabulary in real situations. Looking back, this experience makes me wonder, did those tests really measure my ability to use English? My name is Donna Montero, and I will be sharing a podcast today. This question relates closely to the ideas discussed in Chapter 1 from the Didactic Unit by Mendes 2024. First, I would like to talk about the difference between assessment and evaluation. Although these terms are often used interchangeably, they are not exactly the same. According to Hamilton 2010, cited by Mendes 2024 on page 4, assessment is a continuous process that involves collecting information about a student's performance and progress, while evaluation focuses on making overall judgments about teaching, learning, and even the curriculum. To amplify this idea, on page number 5, Mendes explained that assessment focuses on specific language skills and supports learning throughout the process, whereas evaluation emphasizes the overall results of a program and usually takes place at the end of a term. In other words, assessment helps teachers understand how students are learning, while evaluation helps determine the success of the entire educational process. Now, let's discuss formative and summative assessment. According to Mendes, formative assessment focuses on monitoring students' progress throughout the learning process and identifying areas that need improvement. On the other hand, summative assessment measures what students have learned and achieved at the end of a unit of an instructional period. This on pages 10 and 11. Even though both types of assessment are important and complementary, I favor formative assessment the most. From my personal point of view, formative assessment gives teachers the opportunity to identify a student's strengths and weaknesses during their learning process. As a result, teachers can adjust their instruction and provide support before it is too late. This is especially important when teaching young learners because they need continuous guidance and feedback to improve their language skills. Also, I will be sharing two principles of language assessment: reliability and validity. Reliability refers to the consistency of an assessment. To support this idea, Mendes 2024 explains that reliable assessments provide teachers with information they need about the abilities they want to measure. This on page 19. This means that if a student takes the same assessment under similar conditions, the results should be consistent. The second principle is validity. According to Mendes 2024, validity is the degree to which the tool measures what it claims to measure. In this case, validity is equivalent to accuracy, on page 20. So that validity means that the assessment must actually evaluate the skill that is intended to assess. For example, if the teacher wants to measure speaking ability, students should be asked to speak rather than only complete a multiple choice test. Finally, I would like to share my experience with language tests. Most of the tests I took were objective, including matching, filling in the blanks, and multiple choice activities. However, I believe combining objective and subjective tests is the best approach for young learners. Objective tests measure language knowledge, while subjective tests allow the students to use English in meaningful ways. Together, they provide a more complete picture of learning. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I hope you enjoyed my reflections on Chapter 1 and the importance of language assessment in English teaching. See you next time.